3 billion cups, every single day. That is how much tea the world drinks, making it the most consumed beverage on Earth after plain water, beating out coffee, juice, soda, and every energy drink combined. And yet most Americans can barely name 5 types. Today, we fix that. We are going through 21 teas, where they come from, what makes each one unique, how they taste, and why some of them are genuinely doing things inside your body that scientists are still trying to wrap their heads around. Some of these will surprise you. One of them is technically not even tea at all. And by the end of this, you will never look at your grocery store tea aisle the same way. Let's start with the foundation. Real tea, true tea, only comes from one plant, Camellia sinensis, a shrub native to the mountains of southwestern China and northern India. Every black tea, green tea, white tea, oolong and Pu-erh on the planet comes from that one plant. The differences between them come down to one thing: how much the leaves are allowed to oxidize after they are picked. Oxidation is basically controlled exposure to oxygen, the same chemical process that turns a sliced apple brown. More oxidation means darker color, bolder flavor, and more caffeine. Less oxidation means lighter, fresher, more delicate. That single variable creates an enormous spectrum of flavor. Black tea is at the far end of that spectrum, fully oxidized. The leaves go from green to dark brown or black during processing, and the result is the bold, malty, brisk flavor most Americans grew up drinking in iced tea or alongside a fast food breakfast. Black tea accounts for roughly 75% of all tea consumed in the United States. Caffeine-wise, you're looking at about 40 to 70 milligrams per cup, about half of a standard cup of coffee. It brews best between 200 degrees and 212 degrees Fahrenheit, which is basically boiling water. Go much hotter and you won't feel the difference. Go cooler and the flavor turns flat. Now here is where it gets interesting, because not all black teas are the same thing. 2 of the most famous are Darjeeling and Assam, and they could not taste more different even though both come from India. Darjeeling comes from the foothills of the Himalayas in West Bengal, grown at elevations between 3,000 and 7,000 feet. The thin mountain air and cool mist slow down the growth of the leaves, concentrating the flavor into something incredibly nuanced. Floral, slightly fruity, with what tea experts call a muscatel quality, almost like a hint of grape. It is often called the champagne of teas. 1 pound of first flush Darjeeling, picked in the very first harvest of spring, can sell for over $300. A single cup from the best estates runs about $50. That is not a typo. Assam, on the other hand, comes from the Brahmaputra River Valley in northeastern India, essentially sea level, hot and humid. Those conditions produce a tea that is the complete opposite: thick, bold, malty, almost chocolatey, with serious body and a deep amber color. Assam is the backbone of most English breakfast and Irish breakfast blends. If you want something that punches you awake in the morning, Assam is the one. Then there is Earl Grey, and this one has a mystery attached to it. Earl Grey is simply black tea flavored with oil of bergamot, a citrus fruit that grows mainly in Calabria, southern Italy. The flavor is floral, slightly citrusy, unmistakable. The origin story involves a British prime minister receiving the recipe as a gift from a Chinese mandarin in the 1830s, but historians cannot agree on whether any of that actually happened. What we do know, it is one of the best-selling flavored teas in the world, and the bergamot compound in it, limonene, has shown some early promise in studies for reducing LDL cholesterol. More research is needed, but that is not nothing. Here is something that will stop a lot of people cold: Lapsang Souchong. This is a black tea from China's Fujian province, and it is dried over pinewood fires. The result is a tea that tastes exactly like campfire smoke, whiskey barrel, and leather. It is polarizing. You either love it immediately or you want it removed from your presence. The reason it exists at all is said to be historical accident. During the Qing dynasty, soldiers occupied a tea factory and the workers, desperate to speed up drying, smoked the leaves over pine. The demand that followed was real. It remains one of the most distinctive teas on the planet. Green tea skips the oxidation almost entirely. The leaves are picked, then almost immediately heated, either pan-fired in Chinese production or steamed in Japanese production, to stop oxidation dead in its tracks. The result is a tea that stays green, stays light, and keeps most of its original plant compounds intact. That is clinically significant. Green tea contains EGCG, epigallocatechin gallate, one of the most studied antioxidants in nutrition science, linked in peer-reviewed research to everything from improved brain function and fat metabolism to reduced risk of certain cancers and cardiovascular disease. The studies are ongoing, but green tea has been under the scientific microscope for decades now, and the results keep holding up. Sencha is the most widely drunk tea in Japan. clean, grassy, slightly sweet, with a bright vegetal quality that wakes you up in a completely different way than coffee does. Brew it at 160 degrees to 175 degrees Fahrenheit, not boiling. Boiling water will turn sencha bitter fast. Gyokuro is where Japanese green tea gets serious. About 3 weeks before harvest, the tea plants are shaded from sunlight, covered with special screens that block about 90% of light. The plant panics, produces more chlorophyll, more L-theanine, an amino acid that creates a calm, focused mental state rather than the jittery spike you get from straight caffeine. The flavor is rich, almost savory, with what the Japanese call umami. Gyokuro is expensive and worth every cent. A good quality tin will run you $30 to $80 for just a few ounces. And then there is matcha, which is Gyokuro taken one step further. The shaded leaves are stone ground into a fine powder, and instead of steeping the leaves in water and removing them, you whisk the entire powder into the water and drink the whole leaf. That means you are getting roughly 3 times the antioxidants of a steeped green tea. The caffeine hits differently too, more sustained, less spiky, because the L-theanine slows absorption. Ceremonial-grade matcha from Japan, whisked with a bamboo chasen and drunk from a bowl, is a completely different experience from the sugary matcha lattes most Americans associate with the word. The real thing is grassy, slightly bitter, deeply savory. It is an acquired taste, and one of the healthiest things you can put in your body. Now step back from Japan for a second, because China gave us something that has no equivalent anywhere else in the tea world: Pu-erh, pronounced Pu-erh. Pu-erh is a fermented tea, the only true fermented tea from the Camellia sinensis plant. After the leaves are processed, they are compressed into cakes or bricks and then aged. Some are aged for years, some for decades. The most rare vintage Pu-erh cakes, pressed in the 1950s and 60s, have sold at auction for over $500,000 per cake, a single cake, of tea. The fermentation produces a flavor profile unlike anything else, earthy, almost mushroomy, with deep dark notes that get smoother and more complex over time, the way a fine wine does. Pu-erh is also the only tea where age dramatically increases value. White tea is on the opposite end of processing intensity. It is the least processed true tea, the youngest buds and newest leaves, harvested before they fully open, then simply dried. Minimal handling, no rolling, no firing beyond what is needed to dry them out. The result is delicate, slightly sweet, almost floral, with the lowest caffeine of any true tea, around 15 to 30 milligrams per cup. The most prized variety is silver needle, made exclusively from unopened buds covered in fine white hair, called trichomes. Silver needle from Fujian province is often described as tasting like fresh melon, honey, and wildflowers. It is fragile, expensive, and nothing like what most people picture when they think about tea. Oolong sits exactly between green and black, partially oxidized, anywhere from 15% to 85% depending on the style. That range gives oolong more variation than any other true tea category. A lightly oxidized oolong from Taiwan's high mountains, like a Dongding or Alishan, will taste creamy, floral, almost like a lighter version of green tea. A heavily oxidized oolong from Wuyi Rock in China will be dark, mineral-rich, roasted, and bold. Same category, completely different cup. Oolong is where tea gets genuinely complex, and serious tea drinkers often end up spending the most time here. Jasmine tea is not a tea type on its own, it is a method. Green tea leaves, most commonly, are layered with fresh jasmine blossoms overnight, sometimes repeatedly over several nights. The tea absorbs the scent and flavor of the flowers. Then the blossoms are removed. What you get is light, aromatic, gently sweet, one of the most approachable teas in the world and the most popular scented tea globally. The process is entirely natural, no artificial fragrance added in quality versions. Now we get to what the industry calls herbal teas, or more accurately, tisanes. Technically not tea at all, since they contain no Camellia sinensis leaf, but they have earned their place in the conversation because hundreds of millions of people drink them daily for specific effects. Chamomile is the world's most consumed herbal tisane, the dried flowers of Matricaria chamomilla brewed into a gentle, apple-scented, slightly honey-flavored cup. The compound apigenin binds to receptors in your brain that reduce anxiety and promote sleep. It is not strong enough to sedate you, but 30 minutes before bed, a cup of chamomile does measurably reduce the time it takes most people to fall asleep. Studies published in journals like Phytomedicine have confirmed the effect in clinical trials. Peppermint tea is made from dried peppermint leaves, and the menthol content does real work. It relaxes the smooth muscle of the gastrointestinal tract, which is why it has been used for centuries to ease bloating, indigestion, and stomach cramps. It is caffeine-free, which makes it a solid afternoon or evening option, and the cooling sensation it creates in your mouth is entirely mental. Menthol does not actually lower your body temperature. It just triggers the cold receptors in your mouth. Your brain interprets it as cool. That is wild when you think about it. Hibiscus tea is made from the dried calices, the outer flower cups, of the Hibiscus sabdariffa plant, and it brews into one of the most visually stunning drinks you can make. Deep crimson, tart, slightly cranberry-like. Drunk cold over ice in Mexico is a popular agua fresca called Jamaica. A study published in the Journal of Nutrition found that drinking 3 cups of hibiscus tea daily for 6 weeks lowered systolic blood pressure in adults with mild hypertension. Tartaric acid, anthocyanins, and polyphenols are all doing something real here. It is also naturally caffeine-free and high in vitamin C. Rooibos, pronounced Roi-boss, comes exclusively from the Cederberg Mountains of South Africa, from a plant called Aspalathus linearis. Nowhere else on Earth grows it commercially. It has no caffeine, a naturally sweet and slightly nutty flavor, and an antioxidant called aspalathin that is found nowhere else in the plant kingdom. Rooibos has been studied for its potential anti-inflammatory effects and its unusually low tannin content, which means it will not interfere with iron absorption the way black tea does. It is safe for children, safe during pregnancy, and works beautifully as a coffee alternative for people cutting caffeine entirely. Chai, or more accurately, masala chai, is a spiced tea preparation that originated in India, not a tea type itself. Black tea, typically Assam, simmered with milk, sugar, and a blend of spices: ginger, cardamom, cinnamon, cloves, black pepper, and sometimes star anise. Every household in India has a different recipe. The chai latte you get at Starbucks is a heavily sweetened concentrate version. Fine, but a long way from the real thing. The spice blend alone has real functional benefits. Ginger is one of the most studied anti-nausea and anti-inflammatory foods on Earth, and cardamom has shown measurable effects on blood pressure in preliminary studies. Yerba mate comes from South America, specifically Argentina, Paraguay, and southern Brazil, where it is essentially a cultural institution. Leaves of the Ilex paraguayensis plant are dried and brewed in a gourd, drunk through a metal straw called a bombilla that filters out the leaf particles. The caffeine content is serious, up to 85 milligrams per cup, close to coffee, but it also contains theobromine, the same compound in dark chocolate, and theophylline, creating what many drinkers describe as an alert but calm energy, free of the jitteriness that coffee produces. Mate has been consumed for centuries and remains the national drink of Argentina. The global market for it has exploded. You can find canned mate drinks in most US grocery stores now. Kombucha rounds out our list. Technically a fermented tea beverage, black or green tea fermented with a SCOBY, which stands for symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast. The result, after 1 to 4 weeks of fermentation, is a slightly fizzy, tangy, vinegar-edged drink containing B vitamins, organic acids like acetic and glucuronic acid, and a range of probiotic strains. The research on kombucha's specific health benefits is still early. Most claims outrun the science right now. But the global kombucha market hit $3.8 billion in 2023 and is growing fast. People are clearly finding something they like in it, whether the benefits are proven or not. Here is the thing. Across all 21 of these, from a $300 a pound Darjeeling to a $4 bag of chamomile from CVS, every single one of them tells a story. A story about a place, a climate, a culture, a way of growing and processing a plant that humans figured out over thousands of years. Tea is not just a beverage. It is arguably one of the oldest global industries on Earth, one of the most researched plants in nutritional science, and in some countries the center of an entire social culture. So here is my question for you. Which one of these are you most surprised by? Is it the $500,000 Pu-erh cake? The blood pressure lowering hibiscus? The fact that white tea is the least processed of them all? Drop your answer in the comments. I genuinely want to know which one stopped you. And if you learned something today, do me a favor and hit the like button. Share this with someone who thinks tea is just a bag and hot water, because clearly they need an education. Make sure you are subscribed, because the next video is one you will not want to miss. We are going deep on the science of caffeine and what it is actually doing to your brain and body every single morning. That one will change how you look at your morning cup for good.